should you have white smoke coming out of the stacks the entire time you have a stationary regen going on? No, you should not. Is it okay if you have white smoke when it first starts and then it clears up? Yeah, that's okay. Is it okay if the white smoke lasts for the first third of the regen? Well, I'd suspect something's starting to be an issue, because really almost shouldn't see any white smoke from a stationary regen, unless of course it's very cold out. Then you might see some. And I've got a couple vids of some trucks smoking white in a regen that had some problems. So what's the number one thing that I think causes that white smoke in a regen? Well, it's really a combination of things. And if you've got an 871 or a 2250 or maybe an early 2350 where the DPF injector is bolted on the back of the cast iron pipe after the turbo, I call it the DPF injector. It's called the after treatment dosing injector, the dosing unit. They've given it a few different names. Its job is to mist fuel, not spray it, mist it into the exhaust, almost as looks like a white smoke once the heat hits it. Why? Because it starts to burn. The heat starts the ignition because the particles of fuel are so finely misted. And that's why if you have exhaust leaks back there, you'll see the white smoke puffing out. It's not clear. So what would we need to check if we've got white smoke coming out the stack during the regen? Well, you need to pull that dosing injector off. If it's an 871 and it doesn't have the new style poppet injector, then, and you can check that by part number, then you need to clean it with a brass brush and decarb until the tip is nice and clean. Then you need to flow check it. And then if that's all good, bolt it back on and you give it a try and see if that clears it up. If it doesn't, probably your catalyst is face plugged. You'll have to pull that down and clean that thoroughly and put it back in. I'd say 9 times out of 10, that's going to solve your problem. When you clean the face of that injector, there's a reset after treatment DOC, reset under after treatment maintenance. Do that reset because that'll reset the table or the learned flow for that injector, because the ECM does learn over multiple regens how much fuel it needs to put back there to achieve the heat level that it wants. And it does that so that it doesn't overburden the catalyst by just dumping fuel back there, and that overburdens the diesel particulate filter because it gets hot fast, it gets heat cycled, so we don't want that either. We don't want any leaks in the system between the DPF inlet or the turbo. Of course, you don't want any leaks anywhere, but that area is critical because if you have leaks there, your learning table is going to learn that it needs to dose way more fuel than it really does. A common problem that you'll see is that flexible downpipe, or on the newer trucks that goes straight back. That's the pipe between the hard pipe coming out of the turbo and the hard pipe going into the first section of after treatment. There's always a piece of flex. Some of the newer stuff looks like stainless steel mesh, or it's got a screen over it. But if you cut that off, usually inside what you see is that corrugated, I call it an accordion pipe, and those get cracks in them just from vibration and heat cycles, because that pipe takes a beating. And in terms of heat cycling. So if that cracks, you're going to see smoke coming out of it, and the system's going to increase the fuel to get more heat because you're losing the white smoke is fuel. You're losing that out the crack. So as it in turn sends more back, you're more prone to face plugging, and it becomes one of life's, as we say, vicious circles. So let's take a look at an engine that's got a problem with white smoking in a regen. And then we're going to take a quick look at some pipe leaks, and then I'll throw up a graph and make a couple comments. This is a graph of a SCR system test, which that's a long test, about an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. And incorporated in that test is a diesel particulate filter regeneration. So that temperatures are up there, and it checks the sensor, temperature sensors and all that while it does it. And we had some white smoke coming out of this stack on this one. And if you look, the red is the diesel particulate filter outlet temperature. It is significantly higher than the diesel particulate filter inlet temperature, which is actually the temperature coming right out of the catalyst. And we had a problem with the injector behind the turbo. It was leaking, spraying, spitting fuel out in the pipe. The tip was failed, and there was actually a piece of it missing. And so this thing white smoked through the first part of the SCR system test, and then it cleaned up a little, but it never did clean up all the way. And we ended up changing that injector and doing some resets, and that fixed it. So this is just another clue on a pile of clues that you have when you're looking for this problem. Thanks for joining me. See you next time on Engine Shop Joe. Hey, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.